Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 43. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Mondays with Mello, and today I wanted to talk about how me writing for 20 years prepared me for the journey that I'm on now as an author. So, if you guys don't know by now, and I've probably said it in like so many different interviews and biographies and on the back of a lot of my books, I started writing at the age of 13. And I published my first book when I was 33 years old. So 20 years brings, everything to fruition. So before I get started, I just want to share a quote by Charles DeLint. And it says, "Don't forget, no one else sees the world the way you do. So no one else can tell the stories that you have to tell." So now let's jump into it. Now, here's the thing with this whole writing journey that I've been doing for 20 years before I published my first book. The reality of all this is there was a love-hate relationship with me writing. So I wrote a lot of like poetry, and it turned into like prose poetry, things of that nature. And I would write about life, love, happiness, sadness. So basically, it really prepared me to write all the content that I currently write about now. When I did my book Insight Friday, which was last week, I talked about the world we live in and, a lot of the social issues that are going on in the world. So I would write about a lot of that stuff when I was writing my poetry. But now I write about way more than what, is in the world we live in. Now, no one really knew I wrote like that, and, even former college friends, that I went to school with were shocked to know that I wrote for so long. Now, I don't have all that content anymore, but, it's fine, and it doesn't really bother me, to be honest. I mean, I do remember a good amount of stuff that I used to write anyway. I'm not necessarily dying to share a lot of that content anyway, so I will say I do have some photographic memories of, when I wrote those things and what I wrote about and why and things of that nature. A lot of it was about me. A lot of it was about what I'm seeing in the world. Things from my perspective, not necessarily from a character's perspective. So I was storytelling back then, but, pretty much it was a lot of my emotions and feelings that went into it and honestly prepared me to write the stories that I do right now. And it pretty much comes onto paper like as if it was me experiencing it myself. So, to be honest, 20 years of writing poems, it, put me in this, I would say, imaginary place of solace, where I can express myself and not necessarily be judged, because I didn't share everything that I did write. I would share little things here and there. So now I can put these characters' names into books, make them fictional, and then pretty much talk about, just various things that are going on in the world that I see or that I've read or that I've, watched on TV or whatever the case is. So for me, it makes the stories more believable, more relatable, and, I don't want to necessarily be writing about myself all the time. That doesn't really excite me that much, and I'm quite sure it wouldn't excite any readers. So I wanted to make writing about these characters be more of, okay, this would be like a real person in real life, and I can relate to this character, or I've experienced this, or I understand and know what they're going through, or, well, I know someone that went through that. So a lot of the time that was spent alone, even in like the darkest places of my life, when I wasn't feeling my greatest, or even when I'm feeling good, inspired, and motivated, it pretty much came out in my writing, but, in various and different ways. So for me, it's amazing how, like, you can reflect on a lot of moments in your life and realize that, where you are, you prepared yourself for it. So for me, I prepared myself to write a lot of the books that I do. Now, was I born to do this? Well, I don't know. But I can say that me writing, it's what my life's purpose is. I can say that. I've been told that, I have, this talent and gift, and I've had it all along, and, all that stuff. for me, it's hard to believe that I've written as much as I have, and now I've been able to turn this into audio content, which is, this podcast. I've been able to record a few of my books into audiobooks on my own, but I can truthfully say that I'm blessed. I'm very blessed to have this talent and ability to do this, and I will always continue to write engaging content, that will resonate with others. So I did a lot of different things before I got to this place. So the one thing I can say is, you never know where your life's going to head. So pay attention to your talents and gifts, pay attention to the signs, and always make sure that you're doing what you love. I always say that. I will always preach that, because when you're not doing things that you love, you lose sight on what life is about, and you lose sight of who you are and, where you're supposed to be. So for me, writing all of the poems that I did, which were some are good and some are bad and some were like really crappy. Now I think about it, but I will say that my writing journey has been full of ups and downs, a roller coaster ride, and whatever you choose to do as far as your passion in life, just know that it's going to be a roller coaster ride. It's not going to be fun all the time. It's not going to be glamorous. People think that this life of mine as an author and as a writer is this great glamorous thing because I've published so many books, but not necessarily the case, nowhere near the case. I will truthfully say that in all honesty. So with that said, that's my podcast for today. I just kind of wanted to jump on today and just talk about my 20-year journey and, what I've, been through and, how I got to where I am. So with that said, have a good week. Be good, everyone, and go and accomplish your goals.